Welcome back to the channel, where we uncover the hidden patterns behind human behavior, relationships, and the truths people often try to hide. Today, we are exploring the signs that reveal when something may not be what it seems. Have you ever had that feeling that something about her behavior had changed, but the second you tried to talk about it, somehow you became the problem? You brought up your concerns, and instead of giving you clarity, she turned the conversation around until you were questioning yourself. That is not genuine reassurance. That is avoidance. When someone is hiding a connection with another person, especially someone you already know, they rarely admit it immediately. Instead, they often use certain phrases to make you doubt what you are seeing, silence your concerns, and keep you from looking deeper. And that is where things become dangerous. Because when betrayal comes from someone close, it is not just about losing a relationship. It is about discovering that two people you trusted may have crossed a line behind your back. But you do not have to ignore the warning signs. People who hide something often repeat the same patterns. They use similar words, similar excuses, and similar methods to make you question your own judgment. Today, we are breaking down 10 phrases that can reveal when something deeper may be happening between your partner and someone within your circle. Before we begin, let me ask you something. Have you ever trusted your instincts about someone only to be told that you were imagining things or overreacting? Share your answer below. Because the first phrase is one of the most common ways people dismiss suspicion. Number 1. You're being paranoid. When someone responds to your concerns with this phrase, pay attention. It does not automatically prove guilt, but it does reveal something important about the conversation. Instead of addressing what made you uncomfortable, the focus suddenly shifts toward attacking your reaction. Maybe you noticed that her phone became more private. Maybe her routine changed. Maybe her relationship with a certain person started feeling different. You bring it up because you want honesty and understanding, but instead of discussing those changes, she says, "You're being paranoid." Now the entire conversation is no longer about her behavior. It becomes about whether you are too suspicious. That shift can make you start defending yourself instead of looking at the actual situation. The important thing is to separate emotions from evidence. Ask yourself, are you reacting to random fears? Or are you noticing repeated patterns? Healthy relationships allow questions. Healthy partners do not make you feel ashamed for wanting clarity. So if someone labels you instead of addressing your concerns, slow down. Do not argue. Do not panic. Watch actions. Watch consistency, because behavior always reveals more than words. Number 2. He's like a brother to me. This phrase can sound comforting at first, but the context matters. Sometimes people use labels to quickly remove suspicion before anyone even asks questions. When someone repeatedly emphasizes that another person is like family, it is worth paying attention to why that explanation is being offered so strongly. If the connection is truly innocent, it usually does not require constant defense. The real question is not the label. The real question is the behavior behind it. How much time do they spend together? How much emotional energy goes into that relationship? Are there conversations, jokes, or moments that seem more intimate than normal? A title does not automatically define a relationship. Actions do. Someone can call another person a friend, a brother, or family, but what matters is whether their behavior matches those words. A person who respects themselves does not argue over labels. They observe reality. Because when words and actions do not match, the difference between them often reveals the truth. Number 3. You're just insecure. This phrase can hit deeply because it attacks something personal. Instead of discussing what made you uncomfortable, the conversation becomes about your confidence, your personality, or your self-worth. Suddenly, you are no longer asking questions. You are trying to prove that you are not insecure. And that is the distraction. A healthy partner does not simply dismiss concerns by attacking your character. They try to understand where those feelings are coming from. If there are real changes happening, secretive behavior, emotional distance, unusual closeness with someone else, those things deserve a conversation. Calling someone insecure does not automatically make the concern disappear. The key is self-awareness. Ask yourself honestly, am I reacting to fear, or am I responding to a pattern I have observed? Confidence is not ignoring everything. Confidence is being able to look at reality clearly. A person who values themselves does not accept shame as a replacement for honest communication. Number 4. Don't make this weird. This phrase is often used when someone wants to avoid a serious conversation. Imagine you notice a certain level of comfort between her and another person. Maybe the jokes feel too personal. Maybe the closeness feels different. Maybe something about their interaction does not sit right with you. When you mention it, she responds, "Don't make this weird." That statement can shift the focus away from the behavior and onto your reaction. Now you are made to feel like the problem simply because you noticed something. But asking questions about boundaries is not automatically creating drama. The important thing is not to react emotionally. Instead, observe carefully. Does the relationship look respectful and transparent? Or does it involve secrecy, defensiveness, and behavior that crosses boundaries? You do not need to force an answer. Patterns reveal themselves over time. Because respect does not require excuses. It requires consistency. Number 5. I don't know why you don't trust me. At first, this phrase sounds emotional. It sounds like someone who is hurt and looking for reassurance. But sometimes, the real purpose behind these words is to shift the focus away from the issue and place the pressure back on you. Instead of answering your questions, the conversation suddenly becomes about your trust. Now you are no longer asking about the behavior that made you uncomfortable. You are defending yourself, explaining that you do care, and trying to prove that you are not accusing her unfairly. That is where the conversation changes direction. Trust is not created by demanding someone believe you. Trust is built through transparency, honesty, and actions that make the other person feel secure. If there are changes in behavior, unexplained distance, secret conversations, or unusual closeness with someone else, those concerns deserve an honest discussion. A simple question about boundaries should not become a battle over whether you are a good partner. The important thing is to stay calm. Do not get trapped into defending yourself endlessly. Bring the conversation back to what matters. What happened that made me feel this way? Because trust is not proven by words alone. It is proven by consistent actions. A person who truly values your trust will not only ask you to believe them, they will show you why you should. Number 6. We just vibe. This phrase can sound harmless. It sounds casual, like two people simply get along well. But sometimes, this phrase reveals something deeper. Connection is not only built through physical actions. Emotional closeness can develop through conversations, shared experiences, private jokes, and constant attention. When someone says they just vibe with another person, the important question is not the phrase itself. The important question is what that connection looks like in reality. Who receives their time and attention? Who do they turn to when they need emotional support? Who knows the details of their life that their partner should know? Emotional boundaries matter. A relationship can be damaged long before anyone crosses a physical line. Sometimes the first step is allowing another person to become the main source of excitement, comfort, or understanding. The danger is not simply that two people get along. The danger is when that connection starts replacing the emotional bond that should exist inside the relationship. Do not focus only on what someone calls the relationship. Pay attention to where their energy goes. Because attention reveals priorities. Number 7. He gets me in a way no one else does. This is one of the most painful things someone can hear from their partner. Because underneath those words is a comparison. It suggests that another person has become someone who understands their thoughts, emotions, and feelings better than the person they are supposed to be closest to. Emotional connection is powerful. When someone starts sharing their deepest thoughts, private moments, and personal struggles with another person, a bond begins to form. And sometimes that bond becomes stronger because it develops quietly. The issue is not that people cannot have friendships. Healthy relationships allow friendships. The issue is when another person starts receiving the emotional closeness, attention, and loyalty that should be protected within the relationship. If you hear something like this, do not respond by competing for attention. Do not try to become someone else just to win back a place in someone's heart. Instead, look honestly at the situation. Are both people still investing in the relationship? Are both people protecting the connection they built together? Because love is not just about being chosen. It is about being respected. And when someone begins looking outside the relationship for the connection they once shared with you, that is something worth paying attention to. Number 8. It's not what it looks like. This phrase often appears when someone feels exposed. Maybe you noticed a conversation that felt too personal. Maybe you saw an interaction that crossed a boundary. Maybe something happened that made you question what was really going on. And the immediate response is, it's not what it looks like. The problem with this phrase is that it does not explain anything. It creates confusion. It asks you to ignore what you observed before giving you a reason to trust the situation. A healthy explanation brings clarity. It answers questions directly. It does not simply ask you to dismiss your own perception. Of course, every situation deserves fairness. A single moment does not always tell the entire story, but patterns matter. Look at consistency. Does the explanation match the behavior? Do actions support the words? Does the person become more open and understanding, or do they become defensive and avoid the conversation? The strongest response is not anger. It is awareness. Do not rush into accusations. Do not allow yourself to be pushed into ignoring what you clearly noticed either. Pay attention. Observe. Let time reveal whether the behavior aligns with honesty, because words can create stories, but patterns reveal reality. Number 9. Why don't you trust my friends? This phrase can sound like a defense of friendship, but sometimes it changes the focus of the conversation. Instead of discussing one specific person or one specific situation, suddenly the entire group becomes the topic. Now the conversation is no longer about a certain behavior. It becomes about whether you respect her friendships. That shift can make you feel like you are attacking everyone, when your concern may only be about one particular relationship. The important thing is to stay focused. Do not judge an entire group based on one person. Look at the individual connection. Who receives unusual attention? Who gets defended more strongly than others? Who seems to have a level of closeness that feels different? Healthy boundaries are not about controlling someone. They are about understanding what behavior feels respectful inside a relationship. A strong relationship allows both people to discuss uncomfortable topics without turning them into personal attacks. The goal is not to create enemies. The goal is to recognize whether someone's actions match the trust they are asking you to give, because loyalty is not proven by words like friend or family. It is proven by respect, honesty, and consistency. Number 10. You never listen to me. This phrase can sometimes express a genuine relationship problem. Communication matters, and every person wants to feel heard. But when it becomes a repeated excuse used to justify emotional distance or seeking connection elsewhere, it becomes something different. It can create a story where one person is always the victim and the other person is always blamed. Suddenly, instead of discussing choices and behavior, the entire relationship problem becomes your fault. Maybe you are told that you never understand, never care, or never give enough attention. But the real question is, are these concerns being brought up to improve the relationship, or are they being used to justify crossing boundaries? Healthy communication looks for solutions. Unhealthy communication looks for someone to blame. Every relationship has imperfections. No one gets everything right all the time. But mistakes and problems should lead to conversations, not secret connections and hidden emotional investments. A person who truly wants to repair a relationship will work with you, not create a reason to disconnect from you. Remember this: you can listen better, love better, and improve yourself, but you should never accept responsibility for choices someone else makes. Betrayal is painful because it does not only affect your relationship, it affects your ability to trust the people around you. But the biggest lesson is this: do not ignore what you observe. Do not let fear control you, but do not let someone else convince you to completely silence your awareness either. Words can be beautiful, words can be convincing, but in the end, actions reveal what someone truly values. A person who respects you does not need endless excuses. They create trust through honesty, transparency, and consistency. The goal is not to become suspicious of everyone. The goal is to become wise enough to recognize when something no longer feels aligned. Protect your peace. Protect your self-respect. And always remember, the truth does not need manipulation to survive. The truth is, betrayal rarely begins with one obvious moment. It often starts with small changes, subtle shifts, and conversations that leave you feeling confused instead of secure. But remember this: not every concern is proof of betrayal. A strong relationship is built on trust, communication, and the willingness of both people to understand each other. The goal is not to become suspicious of everyone around you. The goal is to become aware of patterns and recognize when something no longer feels healthy. Do not let fear control your decisions, but do not ignore your instincts when they are supported by real actions. Pay attention to consistency. Pay attention to honesty. Pay attention to whether someone's behavior matches the respect and loyalty they claim to have. Because words can be used to explain, defend, or even hide. But actions reveal priorities. A person who truly values you will not make you feel like you have to fight for basic honesty. They will create trust through transparency, respect, and effort. Never lose yourself trying to convince someone to choose you. The right person will not make you question your worth or beg for clarity. Protect your peace. Protect your standards. And remember this: the strongest person is not the one who never experiences betrayal. It is the one who recognizes the truth, accepts it with courage, and chooses self-respect over denial. Because when someone's actions no longer match their words, the truth is already speaking. The hardest truth about betrayal is that it rarely arrives with a warning sign that everyone can see. It usually begins quietly, through small changes that are easy to dismiss. A different attitude, less effort, more secrecy, emotional distance, or a connection with someone that starts feeling different. At first, you may try to explain it away because you care about the person and you want to believe the best. You tell yourself that maybe you are overthinking, maybe you are imagining things, maybe everything is fine. But sometimes your mind notices changes before you are ready to accept them. Awareness is not about becoming suspicious of everyone. It is about being honest with yourself when something no longer feels the same. But remember, the goal is not to live in fear or constantly search for reasons to doubt someone. A healthy relationship cannot survive without trust. Trust is built when both people feel safe, respected, and valued. The real question is not whether you should believe every fear that enters your mind. The real question is whether the person beside you is creating an environment where trust can grow. Do their actions match their promises? Do they communicate openly when something feels wrong? Do they protect the relationship even when no one is watching? Because loyalty is not proven by beautiful words. Loyalty is revealed through consistent choices. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they sense something is wrong is ignoring their own value while trying to save the relationship. They start chasing answers, begging for reassurance, or working harder to prove that they are worthy of love. But love should never require you to abandon your dignity. You can care deeply about someone and still recognize when their behavior is hurting you. You can give someone understanding while still expecting honesty. A person who truly values your presence will not make you feel like you have to compete for their attention, question your place, or constantly defend your feelings. The most powerful thing you can do is observe without losing yourself. Pay attention to patterns, not just promises. Anyone can say the right thing in the right moment, but repeated behavior tells the real story. Notice whether conversations lead to solutions or whether they always leave you feeling confused and guilty. Notice whether problems are faced together or whether responsibility is constantly shifted onto you. The truth does not need endless arguments to be discovered. Over time, actions create a picture that words cannot hide. At the end of the day, your peace and self-respect are more valuable than holding on to something that constantly breaks you down. The right relationship will not require you to ignore your feelings, silence your questions, or accept disrespect just to keep someone close. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose honesty over excuses. Choose yourself when someone repeatedly chooses to disregard your trust. Because the strongest person is not the one who never experiences disappointment. The strongest person is the one who can face the truth, learn from it, and still walk forward with confidence, wisdom, and dignity.